Fine. Very good evening to all of you. We are here for the very interesting program of Surat Economic Forum, that new initiative of the Chamber of Commerce, and that initiative which is long pending, and it is a hidden demand for the Surat city, where that પ્રબુદ્ધ નાગરિકો સુરતના એવું ઈચ્છે છે કે એવી ચર્ચા થાય અને એવું ફોરમ બને કે જેની અંદર ઇકોનોમીની મેક્રોથી માઇક્રો સુધીની ચર્ચા થાય, એવું પ્લેટફોર્મ હોય કે જેની અંદર બ્રેઇનસ્ટોર્મ થાય અને કયા ઇફેક્ટ આપણને આગળ જતાં કામ લાગશે અને કયા પરિબળોને આપણે સારી રીતે સંભાળી શકીએ તે બધા પર ચર્ચા થાય. ઓવરઓલ એવું કહી શકાય કે લક્ષ્મીની વાત કરવા સાથે સાથે સરસ્વતીની પણ વાત થવી જોઈએ, અને કદાચ બહુ સિમ્બોલિકલી આ બધા નીચેથી ઉપર આવ્યા છો અને બહુ જ સિમ્બોલિક રીતે આમ કહીએ તો એલિવેટ થયા છે. અને નીચે જ્યારે પણ પીડિયાટ્રિક એસોસિએશનમાં આપ ગયા હતા એ હોલની અંદર સેકન્ડ ફ્લોરમાં, તો ચપ્પલ ઉતારીને ગયા હતા. તો નોર્મલી સરસ્વતીના મંદિરમાં જઈએ તો એ સિમ્બોલિક પણ હોય છે. તો આ સુરત ઇકોનોમિક ફોરમના સેશનમાં આપ સૌ અહીંયા પધાર્યા છો, અને ચેમ્બરના પ્રેસિડેન્ટ જેમણે આ સુરત ઇકોનોમિક ફોરમની પરિકલ્પના કરી અને બધા સામે પ્રસ્તુત કરવા જઈ રહ્યા છે એવા ડાયનેમિક શ્રી રમેશભાઈ વઘાસિયાને હું વિનંતી કરીશ કે આ સુરત ઇકોનોમિક ફોરમના થિંક ગ્લોબલ એક્ટ લોકલના સભાનું વેલકમ એડ્રેસથી સૌનું સ્વાગત કરે.
હિરેનભાઈએ આવીને એક રિમાર્ક્સ કરી આપણી ઓફિસમાં બેઠા હતા ત્યારે કે ભાઈ આટલા બધા બ્રોશર છે, આ એક્ટિવિટી છે, એટલું બધું આમ. એટલે આ જ હોલમાં 5:30 કાર્યક્રમ પૂરો થયો અને 5:30નો ટાઈમ આપણે આ પ્રોગ્રામનો આપ્યો હતો. ઇન ધીસ વે SGCCI ઇઝ અંડરગોઈંગ કે વચ્ચે એક મિનિટનું પણ અંતર રહેતું નથી, બેક ટુ બેક. અને એ એરેન્જમેન્ટ અત્યારે તમે જોઈ રહ્યા છો એનું કારણ પણ એ છે કે એ મિટિંગ પૂરી થયા પછીનો જે સ્પેસ એ પણ છોડાતી નથી, અને એરેન્જમેન્ટ ઓનગોઈંગ એક્ટિવિટી આપણે કરી રહ્યા છીએ. તો ધી સધન ગુજરાત ચેમ્બર ઓફ કોમર્સ એન્ડ ઇન્ડસ્ટ્રીના આ સરસ મજાના હોલમાં શિયાળાની હુંફાળી સાંજ જ્યારે નજીક આવી રહી છે ત્યારે, અને ખળખળ વહેતી તાપી નદી અને એની સાથે એનું જે અર્થતંત્ર, પ્લીઝ આપી દો અથવા મને કહો. તમે હેમંતભાઈ આવી જાઓ તમે. ખળખળ વહેતી તાપી નદી એ માત્ર નદી નથી, પણ આપણું જીવન અને આપણા જીવનને ઉર્ધ્વગામી બનાવવા માટેનો માહોલ પૂરો પાડે છે. એવી જળનો જે સ્ત્રોત છે એવો જ એક ખળખળ વહેતો જ્ઞાનનો સ્ત્રોત, અને એ પણ ખાસ કરીને અર્થતંત્રના સંદર્ભમાં, ઇન કન્ટેક્સ્ટ ઓફ ધ ઇકોનોમી ઓફ સુરત એન્ડ સુરત રિજિયન મસ્ટ બી ધેર, એવા આશય સાથે એક એવી થિંક ટેન્ક સુરતમાં તૈયાર થાય હોય અને SGCCI એનું વડપણ કરતું હોય, અને SGCCIના પ્લેટફોર્મ ઉપર એક સુરત ઇકોનોમિક ફોરમ વર્લ્ડ ઇકોનોમિક ફોરમની પેટર્ન ઉપર શરૂ થાય, અને એ સંદર્ભમાં એક વિચારધારા શરૂ થાય અને એનું ઇનિશિયેટિવ લેવાય, થોડીક પણ શરૂઆત થાય અને પછી એને એક સારો ઓપ આપી શકાય એવા આશયથી SGCCI દ્વારા મિશન 84 પ્રોજેક્ટ જે હાથ ઉપર લેવામાં આવ્યો છે, જે વિઝન બનાવવામાં આવ્યું છે, એ મિશન 84ના એક ભાગરૂપે આપણે સુરત ઇકોનોમિક ફોરમ ની નાની નાની મિટિંગો કરીને વિચાર વિમર્શ કરીને વિચારોનું આદાન પ્રદાન કરીને એક સરસ મજાનો માહોલ એવો જે બનાવવા જઈ રહ્યા છે એના ભાગરૂપે આજે પ્રી લોન્ચિંગ પ્રોગ્રામમાં ઉપસ્થિત આપણે સૌને આવકારતા હું આનંદ અનુભવું છું, હર્ષ અનુભવું છું. આજના આપણા સ્પીકર્સ ઓનરેબલ હિરેનભાઈ વેપારી, આપનું પણ સ્વાગત છે. આપના પિતાશ્રીના સમયથી જે સેવાઓ ચેમ્બરને મળે છે એવી જ આપણા તરફથી મળે અને મળતી રહે અને એ જે જ્ઞાન વૃદ્ધિ આપણામાં થઈ રહી છે એનો લાભ ચેમ્બરના મેમ્બરને મળે એવી ભાવના સાથે આપનું સ્વાગત છે. એવા જ આપણા પાસ્ટ પ્રેસિડેન્ટ અને હંમેશા આપણા સૌ માટે પ્રેરણાનો સ્ત્રોત, માર્ગદર્શક અને હંમેશા આપણને ઇન્સ્પાયર કરતા રહેતા અને મોટિવેટ કરતા રહેતા અને લર્નેડ આદરણીય શ્રી કમલેશભાઈ યાજ્ઞિક સાહેબ, આપનું પણ ઉમળકાભેર સ્વાગત છે. એવા જ દિનેશભાઈ જૈન જે અવારનવાર ચેમ્બર સાથે અને એમના અનેકવિધ પ્રોગ્રામમાં હાજરી આપીને પોતાનું યોગદાન આપી રહ્યા છે અને આજે આપણા સ્પીકર છે એવા CFO બ્રિજના CFO પાર્ટનર, આપનું સાહેબ સ્વાગત છે. આપને પણ અમે આવકારીએ છીએ. એવા જ ચેમ્બરના પાયામાં અને ચેમ્બરની સાથે રહીને એકદમ નિરાભિમાનીપણે કાંઈ પણ કામ હોય તો ઇમિડિયેટ કરીને આપવું કેમ એવી એમની ભાવના હોય છે. પોતાનું નામ બોલાય કે ન બોલાય પણ હંમેશા ચેમ્બરનું કાંઈ પણ કામ હોય ને એમના સબ્જેક્ટનું કામ હોય તો એ માટે હંમેશા ઉત્સાહ સાથે જે ઉપસ્થિત રહે છે એવા ડૉક્ટર અનિલભાઈ હરાવગી, આપનું પણ સ્વાગત છે. આપને અમે આવકારીએ છીએ. કારણ કે અનિલ જ્યાં સુધી વાય નહીં ને ત્યાં સુધી મૂંઝારો થાય, આપણને અકળામણ થાય. એટલે અનિલ વગર આપણું કામ આગળ નહીં ચાલે. અને એવા જ મારા ખ્યાલથી વનસ્પતિ જગતમાં પરાગ વગર શું થાય એ આપણે સૌને ખ્યાલ છે, આવી જાય. અને પરાગરજથી જે રીતે ઈશ્વરે અથવા તો પ્રકૃતિએ જે સર્જન કરવાનું નિશ્ચિત કર્યું છે એ જેમ સાકાર થાય છે એમ આજે પણ જેમના જ્ઞાનથી અને જેમના શબ્દોથી આપણને ઇકોનોમી અંગેનું જે જ્ઞાન પ્રાપ્ત થવાનું છે એવા પીપી સવાણી યુનિવર્સિટીના પ્રોવોસ્ટ અમારા મિત્ર ડૉક્ટર પરાગભાઈ સંઘાણી, આપનું પણ સ્વાગત છે. આપને સ્વીકારીએ છીએ. મારા વડીલ અને આમ મિત્રની જેમ મારી સાથે કામ કરતા આપણને થોડો ક્ષોભ થાય કે આપણા કરતાં ઉંમરમાં, જ્ઞાનમાં બધી રીતે આગળ છે પણ છતાં પણ એક સામાન્ય નાની બાબત હોય તો દોડીને ચેમ્બરમાં આવે કે રમેશભાઈ આનું શું કરવું છે, આવું કેવું કરવું છે. એવા સુરત ઇકોનોમિક ફોરમના ચેરમેન કમિટીના એવા હેમંતભાઈ દેસાઈ, આપનું સ્વાગત છે. આપને આવકારું છું. આ મિશન 84ના કોઓર્ડિનેટર અને ઘણો બધો ભાર પોતાના ખભા ઉપર લઈ અને નાની મોટી બાબતે સતત મને જાગૃત કરવાનું કામ કરતા રહે છે. મને સુવા દેતા નથી અને નાની મોટી કેટલીય બાબતોમાં ક્યાં શું ચેમ્બર કરી શકે એવું કહીને આપણને ઉત્પ્રેરે, સ્ટિમ્યુલેટ કરે એવા આદરણીય શ્રી સંજયભાઈ પંજાબી, મારા આઈપીપી આપણા માર્ગદર્શક ભાઈ શ્રી હિમાંશુભાઈ બોડાવાલા, ટ્રેઝરર ભાઈ શ્રી કિરણભાઈ ઠુમ્મર અને પાસ્ટ પ્રેસિડેન્ટ ભાઈ શ્રી અરવિંદભાઈ, ગ્રુપ ચેરમેન ભાઈ શ્રી મૃણાલભાઈ અને આપ સૌ આમંત્રિત મહાનુભાવો નું આપનું સ્વાગત કરું છું. આપ સૌને આવકારું છું. માય ડિયર ફ્રેન્ડ્સ, અ વેરી ગુડ ઇવનિંગ and a warm welcome to all of you, my dear friends. I hope that all of us must have read the figures released by Niti must a few days back that in 9 years India has successfully removed 24.82 crores Indians from multidimensional poverties. Poverty hand count ratio has been brought down to just 11.37% from 29.17% in the year of 2013-14. Friends, these data are extremely encouraging considering the low per capita income of India, though we are now on the 5th largest economy in the world. પાંચમી અર્થવ્યવસ્થા બની અને ત્રીજી અર્થવ્યવસ્થા બનવા તરફ જે આપણે બહુ મજબૂત મક્કમ મનોબળ સાથે પ્રયાસ કરી રહ્યા છે, ત્યારે સાથે સાથે એ પણ ખ્યાલ રાખવો જોઈએ કે પર કેપિટા ઇન્કમમાં આપણે ખૂબ જ પાછળ છીએ અને $55,000 જેવી સાઇઝ ચાઇનાની હોય અને $70,000 પર કેપિટા જ્યારે અમેરિકાની હોય અને ઇન્ડિયાની માત્ર 2600 હોય, તો એ થોટ પ્રોસેસ માટે આજે આપણે એકત્રિત થયા છીએ અને સતત થતું રહેવું છે. સો એઝ હાઉ કેન વી ઇન્ક્રીઝ. Surat Economic Forum has been established to act as a think tank to boost the local economy of South Gujarat. As you all know that at present Surat contributes nearly 2% of India's economy and is the 9th largest city of India. Going forward, as per the planning of Niti Aayog, Surat is going to be one of the 4 global cities of India in line with Mumbai, Delhi. Today, our local economy is expected to surpass the economy of Mumbai in next 2 decades. હમણાં નીતિ આયોગે 2047નું ભારત વિકસિત ભારતનું જે સ્વપ્ન બનાવ્યું છે, એના અનુસંધાનમાં 4 સિટીને આઈડેન્ટિફાઈ કરીને વિકસિત સિટી એ વિકસિત ભારતના કેવા હોય, કેવા હોવા જોઈએ, એની ઉપર પરિકલ્પના કરીને જે મેરેથોન એક્સરસાઇઝ શરૂ કરી છે, એનો એક ભાગ સુરત શહેર છે. એનું આપણને સૌને ગૌરવ થાય એવી ઘટના છે. ત્યારે એ સંદર્ભમાં પણ સુરતની ઇકોનોમીને 2047માં કેવી હોવી જોઈએ એ આપણે સૌ વિચાર વિમર્શ કરીને બનાવીએ તો એ દિશામાં આગળ વધવાનું સુરતનું સદભાગ્ય એ રીતે થશે કે સુરત as being a fastest growing city of the world, it could be the leader engine in economy of India also. This Herculean task, considering the enormous growth that government is expecting to Surat to achieve. In this scenario, our responsibility increases with the expectations of the government. We must be able to provide appropriate guidance to the government to create policy framework in the line with the expected segmental growth. At the level of chamber and every member of associated with us must understand the global becoming of Surat becoming the one of the 4th largest city of India by the end of 2047. Friends, today we have gathered to provoke mindset as to establish acceleration in the local economic activity, identification of the opportunities for masses, locating new avenues of growth, identification of the challenges, infrastructure, bottlenecks, skill gaps, etc. We have with us today some of the best brains of our city. Let's start with this enthusiastic journey and listen to these great gentlemen on their views on going vocal for local in today's globalization world. સુરતમાં કેટલીક બાબતો, કેટલાક વ્યક્તિઓ, કેટલીક સંસ્થાઓ, કેટલાક ધંધાઓ, કેટલાક બિઝનેસમેન અને કેટલાક ઓર્ગેનાઇઝેશન એવા છે કે જે અદ્ભુત કામ કરી રહ્યા છે અને એમની પાસે અદ્ભુત સ્ટ્રેન્થ છે, પણ સુરતના ફ્લોર ઉપર એ આઈડેન્ટિફાઈ થતું નથી. તો એક એવી ટીમ બને, એવું એક માહોલ બને કે જે ઉભરીને આવે અને લેવલ પ્લેઇંગ રોલ કરવાનું એમને પ્લેટફોર્મ મળે. આશય માત્ર એટલો છે કે whenever the SGCCI, an organization providing a good platform to each and every industry, આ બાબતમાં એક થિંક ટેન્ક એવી ઊભી થાય અને આપણે સૌ નાની મોટી બાબતમાં અર્થતંત્રને જે બાબતો લાગે છે એને સ્ટેપ બાય સ્ટેપ એડ્રેસ કરીએ અને લર્નેડ લોકોના, પ્રબુદ્ધ નાગરિકો, અર્થતંત્રના જે અભ્યાસુઓ છે એ એમની પાસેથી સાંભળીએ, મેળવીએ અને વર્લ્ડ ઇકોનોમિક ફોરમની પેટર્ન ઉપર ત્યાંથી જે મેળવવા જેવું છે તે પણ મેળવીએ. થિંક ગ્લોબલ, એક્ટ લોકલ. આપણું કામ અત્યારે જે છે એ અત્યારે આપણે કરીએ, પણ આપણી નજર હંમેશા વૈશ્વિક લેવલ પર હોય અને એવી રીતે ભારતનું જે પ્લેઇંગ છે, ઇન્ડિયાનું જે એક પ્લેઇંગ છે વર્લ્ડમાં ગ્લોબલ લીડર તરીકે, નોટ ઓનલી ઇન ટર્મ્સ ઓફ પોલિટિકલ આસ્પેક્ટ but it must be in terms of economic angle also. So એ ભારતની પ્રજા અને બિઝનેસમેનો જ કરી શકશે. એના માટે અર્થતંત્રના જે અભ્યાસુ લોકો છે એ આમાં ઇન્વોલ્વ થાય, એને પણ માર્ગદર્શન મળે. સાથે સાથે નવો બિઝનેસ શરૂ કરનારા લોકોને એના અભ્યાસની બાબતો મળે ને એ ધંધો શરૂ કરતાં પહેલાં જે એને જાણવું જોઈએ, જોવું જોઈએ, શીખવું જોઈએ, સમજવું જોઈએ તે મળે. અને જે લેવલ પર જે ધંધા વ્યવસાયિકારો પોતાનું કામ કરી રહ્યા છે એમને પણ નેક્સ્ટ લેવલ પર જવા માટેનું માર્ગદર્શન, ગાઈડન્સ, નોલેજ અને આ પ્લેટફોર્મ મળે એવા આશય સાથે જ્યારે આ સુરત ઇકોનોમિક ફોરમ એક પોતાનું એસ્ટાબ્લિશમેન્ટ કરવા જઈ રહ્યું છે, લોન્ચિંગ કરવા જઈ રહ્યું છે, ત્યારે આજની આ સતત લગભગ 4થી કે 5મી પ્રી લોન્ચિંગ મિટિંગમાં પાંચેય મહાનુભાવોને, વક્તાઓને આવકારીને આપ સૌને આવકારતા હર્ષ અને આનંદની લાગણી અનુભવું છું અને સૌની હાજરી બદલ અંતઃકરણથી આભાર વ્યક્ત કરું છું. થેન્ક યુ વેરી મચ.
Thank you so much, sir. We have a tradition of welcoming our guests. So I request Sri Rameshbhai Vagasia to welcome our guest Sri Kamleshbhai Yagnik with a flower felicitation and memento.
કમલ ખીલે અને એમાં ઈશ્વરનો ઈશનો વાસ થાય તો કમલેશ થાય. સ્પીડ કરીએ.
I request Himanshu Bhai Bodawala, immediate past president, to welcome Sri Hiren Vepari.
વેપારી માત્ર વેપારી નથી પણ જ્ઞાન સમૃદ્ધ વેપારી છે.
વેપાર વગરના વેપારી.
I request Arvind Bhai Kapadia, past president SGCCI, to welcome Shri Dinesh Jain. Request Sri Kiran Bhai Tumar, Honorary Treasurer SCCCI, to welcome Dr. Anil Sarawgi. And at last, I request Hemant Bhai Desai, Chairman, Surat Economic Forum, to welcome Dr. Parag Sangani, Provost, PP Savani University.
Yes.
So, why this Surat Economic Forum? What we are going to do? And what is this program is all about? And what are the next programs in line? And how we are going to take Surat Economic Forum in a real concrete shape? And what are the things what we are going to do? So, I request Hemant Bhai Desai, Chairman Surat Economic Forum, to give us some guideline about that what is this program is all about? What is the objective of this today's program?
Good evening. હવે દર મહિનાના પહેલા શનિવારે સવારે 9:30 થી 10:30 મળીએ છીએ. આ મિટિંગો કરવાનો એકમાત્ર હેતુ એવો કે બધાને મળાય અને થોડું બ્રેઇનસ્ટોર્મિંગ થાય. એ મિટિંગોમાં રમેશભાઈ વઘાસિયા આપણા અત્યારના પ્રમુખ નિયમિતપણે આવતા હતા અને એઓ જ્યારે પ્રમુખ તરીકે ચાર્જ લેવાના હતા તેના 1-2 મહિના પહેલાં એમણે મારી સમક્ષ આ વાત રજૂ કરી કે જેવી રીતે વર્લ્ડ ઇકોનોમિક ફોરમ ગ્લોબલ લેવલ ઉપર બિઝનેસ અને ઇન્ડસ્ટ્રીને કન્ડ્યુસિવ એન્વાયરમેન્ટ ક્રિએટ કરી રહ્યું છે, એવું એટમોસ્ફિયર આપણે સુરતમાં કરી શકીએ. સો દેટ વોઝ ધી જર્મ ઓફ ધીસ આઈડિયા, સુરત ઇકોનોમિક ફોરમ. હવે આમ તો સુરત ઇકોનોમિક ફોરમ વિશે અમે બહુ ડિટેલમાં નોટ તૈયાર કરેલી છે અને એની અંદર બહુ લાંબુ પ્રેઝન્ટેશન થઈ શકે છે, પણ આજે આપણી પાસે 5 મહાનુભાવો એવા છે કે જેમને સાંભળવા વધારે મહત્ત્વના છે. એટલે ફક્ત 2-3 મુદ્દાઓ જ હું ટૂંકમાં કહીશ. સુરત ઇકોનોમિક ફોરમ એ સધર્ન ગુજરાત ચેમ્બર ઓફ કોમર્સનું એક એવું યુનિટ છે, એક હાઈ લેવલ ફોરમ છે કે જ્યાં ડિફરન્ટ સ્ટેક હોલ્ડર્સ એ બધાને આપણે ભેગા કરીએ છીએ. એ સ્ટેક હોલ્ડર્સમાં બિઝનેસ લીડર્સ હોય, ઇન્ડસ્ટ્રીયાલિસ્ટ હોય અને એ સિવાય એકેડેમિક ફિલ્ડના વ્યક્તિઓ હોય અને સુરત અને દક્ષિણ ગુજરાતના જે મહાનુભાવો હોય એ બધા ભેગા થાય. સાથે સાથે બહારના એક્સપર્ટને પણ આપણે બોલાવીએ અને એમના બધાના ભેગા થઈને એક એવી વસ્તુ ઇવોલ્વ કરીએ કે જે વસ્તુ સુરત અને દક્ષિણ ગુજરાતની ઇકોસિસ્ટમને વધારે સારી બનાવવામાં આપણને હેલ્પ કરે. એટલે આપણો પર્પઝ એક એવો છે કે સુરત ઇકોનોમિક ફોરમ એ એક કેટેલિસ્ટ તરીકે વર્ક કરે. અત્યારે જે રીતે રમેશભાઈએ કહ્યું કે આપણું ઇકોનોમિક કન્ટ્રીબ્યુશન જીડીપીમાં ફક્ત 2% છે. આપણે અમૃતકાળમાં છીએ અને આપણે એક ફાસ્ટેસ્ટ ગ્રોઈંગ સિટી છે, તો 2% પરથી 5%, 10% લઈ જવા માટે કયા કયા ઇકોનોમિક પરિબળોમાં શું કરવું જોઈએ એ વિશેના રિસર્ચ થાય, સ્ટડીઝ થાય અને એની અંદરથી જે જાત જાતના રેકમેન્ડેશન્સ આવે તેમાંથી આપણે કયું રેકમેન્ડેશન્સ કઈ રીતે અમલ કરવું જોઈએ એ બધી વસ્તુઓનો આપણે અભ્યાસ કરીને આપણે થિંક ગ્લોબલ, આપણે વૈશ્વિક રીતે વિચારવાનું પણ એક્ટ લોકલ. આપણે જે કંઈક પણ ડેવલપમેન્ટ કરવાનું છે એ આપણે સુરત અને દક્ષિણ ગુજરાતમાં કરવાનું છે. એ રીતની કામગીરી આપણે કરીએ એ વિશેની કામગીરી કરવા માટે આપણે સુરત ઇકોનોમિક ફોરમ સ્થાપવા જઈ રહ્યા છે. હવે આપણે આ સુરત ઇકોનોમિક ફોરમ જે છે એને આપણે એવી રીતે કરવું છે કે આખી સુરતની ઇકોસિસ્ટમ જેમાં સુરતની બધી જ આવી જાય. સુરતના જુદા જુદા બિઝનેસો છે, જુદી જુદી એકેડેમિક ઇન્સ્ટિટ્યુશન્સ છે અને એ બધા એક એવા સૂત્રથી બંધાય અને સુરત ઇકોનોમિક ફોરમ એક કેટેલિસ્ટ તરીકે કામ કરે એ પ્રકારનું વાતાવરણ આપણે સર્જવા જઈ રહ્યા છે. આપણે કંઈક કેસ સ્ટડી લઈએ કે એક્ઝામ્પલ લઈએ તો 20મી સદીના છેલ્લા 50 વર્ષમાં અમેરિકા ખૂબ સારી રીતે ડેવલપ થયું. 1970માં દુબઈ કેવું હતું, આજે દુબઈ કયું છે, એ બધું જે થયું તે કયા કારણસર થયું. તો એની અંદર તમે જો જોશો તો મેઇન વસ્તુ એ છે કે એ લોકોએ આખું પ્રોએક્ટિવલી કામ કર્યું અને આ પ્રોએક્ટિવલી કામ કરવામાં કયા કયા પરિબળો કઈ રીતે કામ કરી ગયા એનો પણ આપણે અભ્યાસ કરી શકીએ. અને આપણું સુરત તો ઓલરેડી સ્ટ્રોંગ પોઝિશનમાં છે જ, ફાસ્ટેસ્ટ ગ્રોઈંગ સિટી છે જ, આપણે ત્યાંના વ્યવસાયો ખૂબ સારી રીતે એસ્ટાબ્લિશ થયેલા જ છે, પણ હજુ એને વધારે એક્સિલરેટ કરીને વધારે સારી પોઝિશનમાં પહોંચીએ એ માટેનો આ એક પ્રયાસ છે. અને એની અંદર હું આપ સૌને ફરીથી આવકારું છું અને હવે હું આપણા જે વિદ્વાનો આજે આવ્યા છે એમને સાંભળવા માટે સંજયભાઈ તમે આગળ.
Thank you so much, Before we start at the core part of the today's discussion, we have a small announcement, and I request all guest dignitaries to come forward, and we have prepared, the CEO of the Mission 84, Paresh Bhatt, has requested me to unveil the Mission 84 bulletin, that is Mission 84 Express, and I request all of you to help us with the inauguration with the first issue of the Mission 84
લાવ
bulletin.
આપ સૌને જણાવતા આનંદ થાય છે કે મિશન 84ની પરિકલ્પના કર્યા પછી ધીમે ધીમે જે આવશ્યક બાબતો છે એના ઉપર ફોકસ કરીને આપણે આગળ વધી રહ્યા છીએ. તો એમાંનું એક આ બુલેટિન હિરેનદા અને એમનું અનાવરણ આપણા લર્નેડ સ્પીકર્સના હાથે આજે થાય તો આજનો શુભારંભ. Yes.
Thank you all. The further announcement, the further good announcement, sir, is that with this unveiling within 5 minutes, this newsletter probably going to reach to more than 15,000 people using the latest technology, and probably that includes chamber members, that includes that Mission 84 community members, that includes foreign diplomats and the related people, those who are associated with the Mission 84. So this is a good initiative, and congratulate Paresh bhai. And we come to the core part of that we have to invite our first speaker. I request Hiren bhai Vepari to guide us about, yeah.
I think on the presentation, please.
Presentation load karelu? Fine. So before that, I just would like to briefly introduce Hiren bhai Vepari. Hiren bhai Vepari is a chartered accountant, third generation family member into a profession, and he leads Natwarlal Vepari and Company, a chartered accountancy firm with a total strength of 82, and he is into that ITAT and CESTAT. He is also advises many companies into inbound and outbound investment into India, and he advises clients ranging from hospitality, investment, trust, listed companies, engineering, chemicals, diamonds, textiles and charities. So with this point, I request Hiren bhai to guide us into international perspective that can be molded for our Surat Economic Forum.
So, Sanjay bhai, first, some are very close friends and everything. So, I'm so glad that this came to be thought about and conceived, and today we are seeing this Surat Economic Forum right in front of us. And I'm glad it is happening during your time. And I'm also glad that I'm getting opportunity to speak with about my views on this. Well, I'm not an economist, I must first say as a caveat. I was told about to give this international perspective. My presentation has been on a little different line because my text will be presented right now, what I've prepared. I think global, act global. I think when we think about acting locally and thinking globally, it's about crossing the frontiers, crossing your boundaries. You don't really think about the local market or sourcing from the local market and supplying only to the local market. And how the key global players have been doing and following this kind of thinking globally and acting locally. So I've seen some of the top global brands actually have been like in a 1 generation or 2 generation have been operating in their B2B and B2C domains. What strategies actually underline which actually create the environment. I think what made them really behemoth, the mammoth in 1 or 2 generations, and how the government came to their aid, which Hemant bhai just touched base. કે આજે દુબઈમાં તમે જુઓ તો કદાચ એમણે તો 1970ની વાત કરી હું તો 2000ની વાત કરું છું. કદાચ 23 વર્ષમાં જ કે ઇવન 2006-7 પછી જે મોમેન્ટમ પકડાયો અને એકચ્યુઅલી એ મોમેન્ટમ આખો સ્નોબોલ થયો અને સ્નોબોલ થઈને વોટ રિયલી વી સી દુબઈ ઇઝ અ વેરી ડિફરન્ટ દુબઈ ફ્રોમ વર ઇટ વોઝ. ગવર્મેન્ટની પણ લિબરલ પોલિસીઝ હાઉ કમ ટુ અવર એડ એકચ્યુઅલી in doing all this actually. So I'll just take two examples because I've also been told about international perspective. One is of Silicon Valley, the other one is of River Pearl Delta. Silicon Valley બધાએ નામ સાંભળ્યું હશે. Bay Area is just a 30-mile radius, and in the 30-mile radius everything is happening. I mean they harness the local talent. They thought big. You find most of the brands like Adobe hoy ke Cisco hoy ke Nvidia hoy ke all actually came from this point, and I think they've marked done something very very extraordinary in the world actually. And people talk about this language called Silicon Valley, and now they talk about Silicon Hills also when the things are moving to Austin. Other thing is about River Pearl Delta, but I tell you one thing about Silicon Valley first. What came to the rescue is the very, very, very liberal policy of the American government. I think when, there are no bureaucratic hurdles, so to speak. I mean, when you want to do the business, that is the place to do the business. That's the kind of environment and the whole ecosystem which is created. And that allows the companies to thrive, flourish, go much, much beyond. So these are the names you find, whether it is in the US. Like, for example, when you look at the list of Fortune 50 people or Fortune list of billionaires, probably 9 out of 10 are Americans. And there is no wonder. So I think one of the things I would like to say from the international perspective is this one area, what they did everything almost right to reach to these levels. And there are companies which have trillions of dollars of market capitalizations, at least some of them. The other example I would take is of River Pearl Delta. Some might have heard of, some might have not heard of. River Pearl Delta is the south part of China. It touches the South China Sea. And that is where Guangzhou, Shenzhen, Foshan, Hong Kong, all there are 5 or 6 cities are, and the kind of environment, kind of hub, kind of port, kind of facilities which are created. And that's just built the entire ecosystem. Again, I would say the government stepped back. Government created what are known as these economic zones in the true sense. અહીંયા પણ economic zones થયા છે, but they've been more abused than actually used. Let's put it. એટલે I think River Pearl Delta એવો એરિયા છે કે જ્યાંથી દુનિયાનો 50% કાર્ગો પાસ થાય છે, દુનિયાનો. Think about it. So that's the kind of activity they could create out of this. Umpteen examples of global B2B, B2C player. આજે એવું છે કે what they did in their domain are so relevant. એટલે ગઈકાલે જ મારે હેમંતભાઈ સાથે એક વાત થઈ અને તમે આપણી સુરતની ડાયમંડ ઇન્ડસ્ટ્રીની જ વાત કરીએ તો એમાં કેવું છે, નેચરલ ડાયમંડમાં ઘણો મોટો ગ્રોથ આવ્યો, એ પણ આપણે I'll just touch upon when I deal with the presentation given the time constraint. But second thing is કે દુબઈમાં એ લોકો એવું એન્વાયરમેન્ટ ઊભું કર્યું, maybe it is a tax free, maybe it is a whatever you call it, but that allowed the companies to close their offices in Antwerp and move to Dubai. That allowed the mining companies to close their tendering process from Africa and UK and move to Dubai. So these are the kind of changes that could happen. અને ફક્ત તમે જાઓ દુબઈમાં તો there is only one tower, DMCC, અલ્માસ ટાવર, DMCCમાં. અને અલ્માસ ટાવરમાં મોટા ભાગનું બધું આવી જાય છે અને ત્યારે પેરિફરલ 2 બીજા ટાવર બનાવે જેમાં બધું આવી જાય છે. પણ I think the kind of environment કે એ જે ક્રિએટ થયું છે, that is what has driven the diamond business and allowed the businesses to shift from the other geographies to Dubai. How Surat corporate can reach there, I tell you. I'll come to that. We are not decoupled anymore from the world. Let's accept that. Next. I think so far as Surat's DNA is concerned, since centuries, we have rich mercantile history. We already have an export-oriented outlook. We are home to coexisting communities and most important, city of immigrants. I think city of immigrants give us an edge. એ રીતે કે તમે દુનિયાભરમાં જુઓ તો only immigrants contribute towards the growth. No one else, I tell you. That has been proven, I tell you. Because શું થાય કે જે locals હોય, maybe after a generation, 2 generation, 3rd generation, complacent થતા જાય, docile થતા જાય, mild થતા જાય, but immigrants come with a very different spirit. So that is really coming to our advantage big time. આપણી strength શું છે સુરતની? Let's understand. I think we got thriving entrepreneurial community. We got required supply of capital and ability to leverage. Manufacturing prowess. We are cosmopolitan city. We got excellent standard of living at humble costs. We are well-intentioned and broad-minded citizens and strong family bond. But if I have to put actually something on the tripod, I would put 3 things. એક આપણે ત્યાં સુરતમાં જુઓ તો જે એન્ટરપ્રેનરલ સ્કિલ છે, it is unmatched. Second thing is a manufacturing strength. See, we are not a city with services. We are a city with the manufacturing base. તમે નોર્થ સાઇડ ઓફ રિવર જુઓ તો હઝીરાનો આખો બેલ્ટ જુઓ, તેમાં બિલિયન્સ ઓફ ડોલર્સ ઓફ ઇન્વેસ્ટમેન્ટ છે, એટલે મોટી મોટી ઇન્ડસ્ટ્રી છે. સાઉથ સાઇડ ઓફ રિવર જુઓ તમે તો નાના નાના ટેક્સટાઇલ ડાયમંડના યુનિટો છે, જે ગ્લોરીફાઈડ ટુ ડિફરન્ટ લેવલ્સ. અને થર્ડ પાર્ટ, ત્રીજો ટ્રાયપોડનો જો મારે લેગ જોઈન કરવો હોય સુરત માટે, તો સ્ટ્રોંગ ફેમિલી બોન્ડ છે. વી આર ઓલ ફેમિલી ઓન એન્ડ મેનેજ બિઝનેસીસ, અને આ ટ્રાયપોડ પર જ આપણે ગ્રો કરી શકીએ એમ છીએ. હું તમને ખાલી ડેવલપમેન્ટ કહું છું ઓફ લાસ્ટ ફ્યુ ડિકેડ્સ ઓર યર્સ. તમે ડાયમંડ કે ઇન્ડસ્ટ્રીમાં જો તો જૈન કે કાઠિયાવાડી છે ઓલરેડી આઉટસ્ટ્રીપ જ્યુસ, એન્ડ જીઅર્સ આર વન ઓફ ધ મોસ્ટ ડિફિકલ્ટ કમ્યુનિટી ટુ બી આઉટસ્ટ્રીપ્ડ. બટ વેલ, these people are smarter than even Jews. એ લોકોએ જે ટ્રુ સેન્સમાં લોકલ જે પણ ટેલેન્ટ છે એને યુટિલાઇઝ કરી અને ફોરેનમાં ગ્લોબલ ઓફિસીસ બનાવી, they thought much beyond. They all have been traveling since 80s, and what comes to their strength is again their family bonding. Another thing which I would like to highlight is about foreign to lab-grown diamonds. તમને નવાઈ લાગશે કે 5 જ વર્ષમાં આપણે ગ્લોબલ લીડરશિપ લઈ લીધી ઇન્ટુ લેબ-ગ્રોન ડાયમંડ, બિકોઝ વી ઓલરેડી હેડ સમ ઇન્ફ્રાસ્ટ્રક્ચર, ધ રિસોર્સિસ એન્ડ એવરીથિંગ. બટ ટુ અટેન ધીસ કાઇન્ડ ઓફ ગ્લોબલ લીડરશિપ, people are investing into crazy amount of into the reactors, crazy amount, I tell you. પણ એ તમે લોકલ વેન્ડર પાસે લો છો, લોકલી ગ્રો કરો છો, keeping the globe in mind, this itself is a strength. Textile પણ there are calibrated steps from traditional technology into state-of-the-art units. And now we have, OEM for global brands like Nike and Puma, he would endorse. And of course, in textile also, we have ventured big time into technical textiles. મારી દ્રષ્ટિએ જો કોર્પોરેટ એક્ટિવિટીઝ રિયલ સેન્સમાં કશે પણ થઈ હોય સુરતમાં, which will allow us to further push the growth, is in chemical sector. There are hardly 30 odd companies in Surat or in around Surat. Out of 30 odd companies, 5 કંપનીઓએ already IPO hit કર્યો છે. And there are already 3 companies under the pipeline, I'm telling you, out of 30 odd. Now, these are the companies કે ટ્રુ સેન્સમાં જેને ત્યાં MBB, જેને મેકિન્ઝી, બેઇન એન્ડ કંપની અને બોસ્ટન કન્સલ્ટિંગ ગ્રુપ છે, એ ઓલરેડી એડવાઇઝ આપી રહી છે. દેવ સરમાઉન્ટેડ સ્ટ્રિંજન્ટ FDA રેગ્યુલેશન્સ, અને એ લોકોની પ્રોડક્ટની એક્સેપ્ટન્સ લેવલ ફોર્ચ્યુન 50 કંપનીઝમાં પણ ઓલરેડી થઈ ગઈ છે. ધીઝ આર ધ કંપનીઝ વિચ હેવ SAP and ERP implementations. And I think what I would like to highlight is this is where I see a great change. So game changers for the future, સુરત ડાયમંડ બુટ્સ છે, આપણો મેટ્રો બુલેટનું જે કનેક્શન છે, આઉટર રિંગ રોડ અને ફ્રેટ કોરિડોર કનેક્ટિવિટી છે. આપણે ત્યાં અત્યારે રિયલ એસ્ટેટમાં જે રીતે એક્ટિવિટીઝમાં મોસ્ટ ઓફ ધ બિલ્ડિંગ્સ આર સસ્ટેનેબલ એન્ડ મોડર્ન એમ્યુનિટીઝ સાથે છે. અને આઈ થિંક SMCનું કમિટમેન્ટ છે ટુ કોન્સ્ટન્ટલી ગીવ અ ગુડ ઇન્ફ્રાસ્ટ્રક્ચર ટુ સપોર્ટ ધ ગ્રોથ. I think will further change the dynamics. તમે for the first time, Surat Municipal Corporation in 23-24 budget gave about $1 billion budget. 7,300 crore. આમ 3,300 હતું, પણ when you add up capital and revenue, with 7,500 કેવા કરોડનું બજેટ હતું. It's about $1 billion budget. ટેક્સટાઇલમાં IPO activity boost is like highlighted everywhere in the world. And the other thing is AMNS, India, which is committing about $20 billion of investment and going very aggressive on the other side of the river. Lakshmi Mittal. I think what I would say that મારી દૃષ્ટિએ આપણે ત્યાં એન્ટરપ્રેનર સ્કિલની કોઈ કમી નથી. વોટ વી નીડ ટુ ડુ ઇઝ મેક શ્યોર દેટ ધ સ્નોબોલ મોમેન્ટમ છે આપણો એ ચાલુ રહે. એને કઈ રીતે સુરત ઇકોનોમિક ફોરમ ફર્ધર પુશ આપી શકે. બાકી ઇન્ડસ્ટ્રી કેન ટેક કેર ઓફ ઇટ સેલ્ફ. ઓલરેડી સુરત તમે જુઓ તો ઇટ ઇઝ નાવ પોપ્યુલેશન ઇઝ ઓવર 7.5 million, 7.6 million. Well, I would not be surprised if it crosses Ahmedabad in next maybe 5 to 7 years' time. The kind of growth and the kind of talent that we are, extracting from all over the country to India to support the growth is amazing. I think what we need to do is to represent the government for the support in yet liberalizing the policy, clearing bureaucratic hurdle. I think that is the key to the growth. Partner with the educational institutes for skill development and employment. I think we did discuss this little bit. Global exposure rooted in local values. So I think with this I would end my presentation in given time frame. But I would like to say કે international perspective આપણે જોઈતો હોય સમજો તો જે કંઈ સિલિકોન વેલી છે, રિવર પર્લ ડેલ્ટા છે, આ બધામાં જે થયું કારણ કે આપણી પાસે ઓલરેડી પોર્ટ અવેલેબલ છે. મને કદાચ હજીરા પોર્ટમાં કેટલા બર્થ ખબર નથી પણ 13 બર્થ કેવા તો છે લગભગ. આમ 13 બર્થ્સ આર ધેર ઓલરેડી સમજો. સો વી આર એક્સ્ટ્રા ઓર્ડિનરીલી પોઝિશન ટુ we are already having a manufacturing mix, good entrepreneurial skill છે, and we could become a river Tapi delta going further if we do all the things right. Thank you so much.
Further, that maybe one more feather going to be added in Surat could be a JW Marriott going
That's
to
correct.
come.
Yes, yes. That's all peripheral.
With a 370 rooms, they are coming up. So now I would like to invite Shri Kamlesh Bhai Yagnik, former president, Sarvajanik University, and past president, SJCCI. To give an introduction about Kamlesh Bhai Yagnik is always a pleasure. That Mr. Yagnik has over 3 decades of post-qualification experience in research, business, and consulting in energy, climate change, and technology. Currently, he is working as chairman of the Center of Social Studies. He is also a president of SRK Knowledge Foundation. He is a chairman of Tribal Vocational Training Center established at Valsad. He is on the Global Steering Committee of Resilience Network set up by Rockefeller Foundation, USA. He was the president of Sarvajanik University set up by Sarvajanik Education Society, catering to the needs for 32,000 students by running 30 educational institutes. He is also Chief Resilience Officer appointed by Surat Municipal Corporation. He is a founder trustee of Surat Climate Change Trust. He was a president of the Southern Gujarat Chamber of Commerce and Industry. He is an IIT Mumbai trained engineer having studied climate change and energy. His area of interest includes education, urban resilience, and climate change. Sir, we would like to hear from you how Surat can provide a platform like Davos as compared to the World Economic Forum. But for that, I just would like to, what we have researched about that, is there only one economic forum which is popular, World Economic Forum? But there are number of economic forums in different regions, and all of these economic forums have contributed significantly into the activity, economic activity of that region. So we are at the right place at the right time. So we are here to listen from Kamlesh Bhai.
Yeah. So what is the best part? Hirenbhai just mentioned, okay, I'm not an economist. But the truth is, all 5 speakers, none of us are economist here. And the best part is, we really don't need to be an economist to talk about economy. Because, we really need, it's essentially, like the kind of stakeholders we all have it. They all have to contribute. Economy is nothing but sum of everything. That's the economy. And it's indeed a pleasure, and I must compliment our President Ramesh Bhai for initiating this idea. We really need to be very clear about Surat Economic Forum. What Surat Economic Forum will do and how it will be different than what Chamber of Commerce is already doing. It's very, very important. And for that, we need this kind of deliberations, this kind of understanding that what exactly Surat Economic Forum will do. And for that, the very first word which he used in his welcome address, that Surat Economic Forum will be a think tank. And that's exactly what we want. That Surat Economic Forum, it needs to be a think tank. And essentially when we are talking about think tank, it essentially performs research, because that's something we really need to do it. And that's what we are lacking as far as Chamber is concerned. We have been doing practically no research at Chamber of Commerce currently. And subsequently, after carrying out research, what is important is throwing back to the society, throwing back to the people. That's advocating about this research. That's something which we really need to do. And the kind of subjects which we will be touching upon, social policies, political strategy, economics, military, technology, culture, everything. There's practically no limit as far as we are calling ourselves as a think tank. And for that matter, it's very, very important while, we are going to be Christian ourselves as a think tank, it is important that there are some think tanks in this country and doing wonderful work. We really need to study apart from studying World Economic Forum. And for that matter, we have the Center for Policy Research, CPR. It's, like a founding, and that's something, we really need to go to this kind of institutions which can guide us. Center for Science and Environment, WRI, that's World Resource Institute, then Strategic Foresight Group. These are the groups which guides right now. These are the groups, they are the thinker, and that is guiding, nation at a large. So that's something, we really need to do it. And while, we are talking about World Economic Forum, there is another event, there is another body which I really want to put before the House today. That is, COPs. There are, conference of parties. Just like we know all that the World Economic Forum, every January, we meet. Similarly, every December, end of December, conference of parties where in a literal sense, heads of the states of almost all 192 countries, they meet and they deliberate. And while they are deliberating on the issue of climate change, they are not restricting only, like on the subjects of climate change. They have a wide gamut of subjects. And they talk about anything and everything, which falls under the earth. And that's very, very important that needs some elements of COP also should be included while we are talking about this. Because for the first time, and that's going to be, it will have a great implications. First time in the country, first time in the world, all 192 countries together, they have decided that we are now going to have a transition from fossil fuels to natural fuels. And that's going to be a game changer. That's going to be something which Surat, how we can capitalize on this. Because that's something we really need to advocate on that. We really need to say that, can we do this and how we can do that. So that needs to be appropriately advocated. That's something. And there's something, I was asked to talk about Surat to Davos or Davos to Surat. And the Davos, this World Economic Forum, it was set up by an engineer. And he was essentially an engineer, a mechanical engineer, a German engineer, Klaus Schwab. And he set up this, he set up, as a private body in the year 1971. And today, like he's almost 85 years of age. And he started as a management company forum, wherein, the ideas related to companies, what are the obstacles, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities, they were discussing in the management forum. But as, it started generating more and more interest. And then, they say that it really requires a wider umbrella. And that's how, in the year 1987, they changed it to World Economic Forum. And as far as, participation of India is concerned, Mukesh Ambani, he's on the board of governance of WEF, and World Bank president, Mr. Banga, he's also on the board of this. But, and while we are talking today, at this particular moment, World Economic Forum, the annual event is going on. It's taking place, And there are 3,000 individuals currently, they are participating, they are debating. And today on 17th January, they have, starting from 8 a.m. in the morning to 6 p.m. in the evening, there are 90 different seminars, 90, on various issues. And all of them, they are attending to World Economic Forum by paying, for 5 days event, they are paying equivalent to 20 lakhs of rupees. Just merely a participation fees is 20 lakhs of rupees. 3,000 people paying 20 lakhs of rupees for 5 days, amounting 600 crores. That's a scale, they have reached. And, we are trying to emulate that. And no wonder, where we will reach, no one knows. But 1,000 miles journey has to begin with a single step. So that's something we really need to do and go further, in this direction. It's very, very important. Then, and I'm very, very happy that today, one of the Surti is participating, by being there, physically, by paying, 20 lakhs of rupees, Subbalakshmi guy, Ajay Agarwal's son, he's there in Davos, and I'm sure, when he come here, we should invite him, he's returning on 22nd. So that's, it'll give us a first-hand experience about, what is happening, overseas. Because, we've been talking about Davos, through website only. We have never been there. But that's something, it's a great experience. I've been following up Davos for last almost 12 years, almost regularly, and being a member of, digital member. I'm a digital member. So it gives us, that liberty. It's a treasure. It's something, very, very, even if you don't become a member, it's very, very important that you visit. Let's visit this. It's very, very important. And two reports which they generate, every year. Now, one of the report, which is given, to almost all of us, it's a global cooperation barometer. This is something good. But apart from this, this, essentially talks about how the world is interconnected. It's a barometer, and it talks about, there are, 5 things they have really mentioned it, and how they are connected. That's what, is mentioned here. But what is important for cities like us, that, study in depth. I'm sure, that page is, that report is available in 126 pages. This was available on only at 26 pages. So, I'm sure we gave it. But that report, it's very, very important. That needs to be shared. And it talks about what is going to be the future. A World Economic Forum, every year, and for last 50 years, they are talking about what is going to be the short-term risk, in front of humanity, in terms of world, in terms against businesses, politics, how everything, will change. And all these risk categories are very explicitly defined. They are either economic or environmental in nature, or geopolitical, societal, or technology. So these are, various kind of risks, and each risk is appropriately identified. And, I'm talking about 10 years ago, terrorism was, on the top of the list. It was considered as a major, major risk. Today, terrorism in that sense, like it is not perceived as a risk. Today, the major risk, World Economic Forum, it tells us misinformation and disinformation. This is a great challenge. So how do we, as a Surat Economic Forum, how do we, tackle this risk? Because that's something true, equally in our area also. How do we ensure that in today's technological era, what all information we are receiving or we are giving, whether it's true information or not? That's something we really need to do. Secondly, the deliberations about extreme weather events. There are some countries, they don't say climate change, but they say that extreme weather events. And extreme weather events is nothing but we are perceiving it. So for all this, and then there are polarization, cyber insecurity, all sort of risk, which are appropriately defined. And this, they actually say that for 2-year period, what's going to be the risk, and for 10 years period, what are going to be the risk. So this risk, the category of risk appropriately changes, but we really need to know what kind of risk, we as a city, we perceive. But one thing, is very certain, and what all I know and what I perceive, future is not going to be uncertain. What is going to come in next 2, 5, 10, 15 years from now, it's going to be defined. It is known to every one of us, and what all we can imagine will come true. And there are stories, which we know that Harari, which talks about. But then Harari, it gives us a different perspective. It's little pessimism, to some extent. That's something, which we really, it's very important. I would really want that individuals, who are here, and if you have not read Yuval Noah Harari, because it's for all of us, it's very important that we talk about it, read about it. But at the same time, very important is, there was another Greek engineer, it's very important, and their study, it's very important, that is Peter Diamandis. He talks about, 2 beautiful books. The future is better than what you think, and future is faster than what you think. These are, going to be, and World Economic Forum, it essentially, drives us on the same path. It really tells us. So this is something we really need to do that. But while, we are talking about World Economic Forum and what all they do, we know it. It's kind of networking, there are seminars, there are discussions, there are research and everything takes place. But then, there are organs of World Economic Forum. That is where, we really need to concentrate. One is a strategic intelligence. We really need to have our own intelligence, what is, what are the opportunities here, what are the trends, what are the weaknesses of city of Surat. That needs to be understood very and that requires, really thorough knowledge, thorough understanding, and we do have resources, Surat has this kind of resources where we can do this exercise. So the strategic intelligence it's essentially good, and they are nothing but a tool to make strategic decisions for everyone, our members or society at large, That's something. And more importantly, because we have many youngsters here, and I strongly request to join. And for this, there are no payment has to be made. It is very important in World Economic Forum. If you go to this, there's something known as uplink. Now this uplink is very important. It will, tell us that what kind of innovations essentially takes place. And all kind of innovations, the challenges which are in front of us. And the best part is, challenges are given. It's just like startup. But here, ideas are given. There are universal challenges, and that we can bring it down and take it at a city level. And go to those challenges and try to give our solutions. And that's an invitation to all the students. So all youth are appropriately gathered. So that uplink thing, we really need it. But more importantly, there's something known as a global shepherds community. Now this global shepherds community is something, which in Surat, we are a hub for, last almost 9 years. It is nothing but a World Economic Forum which is run by youth. And Surat, we do have this hub, but it's not very active because of, they've not been able to garner the kind of patronage they wanted. And Chamber can take a lead and ensure that the sappers community are appropriately shaped. They are to be brought together under this umbrella. It will be very befitting. Vardhan Kabra, is essentially working on it. And at a state level, Sunil Bhai Parekh, whom Chamber is very well connected with. So they are the one, who are very strongly advocating, wherein they invite. That's something we really need to do this. And one thing, which I must talk to Hemant Bhai. Hemant Bhai, while defining a concept note, very elaborate, very good. But he talked about it, that Surat as a battlefield, and very nicely worded, the clash and shields of innovation defending against arrows of stagnation. But essentially, World Economic Forum is not only needed at the time of stagnation. G.R.D. Tata once, he was traveling in the air, and it's very known thing, why, Tatas need to advertise. So he said, are we on the, we are on the top, but we still need to fuel it up, So World Economic Forum is not essentially about countering stagnation. It has to, even at the time of, during the time of growth, we really need. So that kind of, it is definitely, it's a path, it's a way, which will take us forward. Because that's something, is very important. The objectives of Surat Economic Forum, they are defined, I'm not going deep into it, but essentially the first and foremost which comes in our mind is a exchange of knowledge. And that's where, we really need to capitalize. We really need to grow how we do knowledge exchange. Because that's something is very important. Rest of the things can follow. Policy development, networking, everything, will follow. But the word which is very dear to me is a resilience. I worked, with Surat Municipal Corporation in a, that's something I would really want to share, maybe, that I worked as a Chief Resilience Officer of Surat City, where this particular word, resilience, it touches everything. And wherein, we did talk about economic resilience. How do we, safeguard ourselves? The Surat needs to be economically very much resilient. Because, see, anything could happen, and that needs to be appropriately managed. And in a time, herein by very nicely put it, think global, act global, act local. That's something, is very important. And we know how big companies are managing, and how McDonald's, have done it. We have, even Shurti, burger also, is available. No wonder, I mean, in India also, they have, various varieties, like in different states, they have different products. Because that's how, they have grown. Same is Coca-Cola and Unilever, we talked about. So these are, very known examples, and we know how actually they are working, on it. And, what is important is, while, we are, Surat Economic Forum is talking about increasing GDP. But the best part is, we really need to not restrict ourselves only for GDP growth. We really need to go whether, we are livable city. Because, like just 2 years ago, in the last Vibrant, when it was done, Bhutan's king was invited in Vibrant, and everyone was talking about GDP. And, he got up, a small, thin fellow, and he said, let's talk about happiness index. So, while, we are on this journey, it is important that we don't talk solely about GDP. We really need to go beyond that and ensure that what is the happiness of our cities. And today, see, I give you one figure. I have a figure, which says that Surat's GDP is, say, today's GDP is, say, 59 billion. Okay, while Mumbai is 310. In 20 years' time, he says we will be surpassing. So what's going to be the growth? I do not know. But then, but these figures are very, very abstract figures. So, we have no clue, whether it is 59 or 75 or 8, we have absolutely no clue. So, and as a Surat, and while, we are on this journey, it is very, very important that we define our parameters. We must have a mechanism to ascertain the growth of the city. How do we do that? And for that matter, because Hiren Bhai knows it very well because he has been analyzing budget almost regularly. So he knows it, how GDP, and it can mislead. GDP, is a figure, it is a statistical figure. It can really, really, Jain Saab can vouch for it, and I'm sure, So that's something, we really need to we need to have our own very objective figure. And how do we do that? So let's define a boundary, because city is growing. We were 325 square kilometer area, now we are 450 square kilometer area. So city will grow. Tomorrow, we may grow further. And, some of the economic activities which are done, in that area can be included. So that's something, we should avoid it. We really need, and I do not know what is needed to be done in that case. But that requires a lot of deliberations. How do we set the city limit? The time period, whether, GDP is ascertained, let's say on a quarterly basis, monthly basis, or annual basis. So all those things are appropriately needed. And most important is a mechanism of data collections. How do we ensure that what kind of data? And there are various approaches, which, whether it is, you take it from the production side, or you take it from the consumption side. How do we determine GDP? That's very, very important. So these are, some of the things, which we really need to take care while, we are talking about, going towards Davos. And in a time, which is considered today, uncertain time, but, with certainty, we really need to go for it. We do not know where we will reach. But what is important is this initiative, I am very happy. And I'm sure all of us who are here, who are speaking and who are together, all of us, in this room, they'll always be ready, in some way or the other to contribute in this journey. And I'm very happy that Surat Chamber, the Chamber of Commerce is taking this lead. And it's very, very important while Kennedy talked about, ask not what a country can give you, but, in the same way, we have to ask, ourselves today, ask not what Surat has done for me, ask what I can do for Surat. So that's something, and that's how, we really have to look at it and then move further. There's a lot, we really need to discuss. And one thing, the kind of technological changes, if you see that, what are going to be the future technology which is going to impact people at large. So today, they go beyond, artificial intelligence. They are talking about brain interfaces. They are talking about neural networks. All those things are reality. It is happening. Today, in labs, they're established. So it's beyond concept. It is in a stage where, so this kind of technology just knocking our doorstep. So it's a right time. I think we are on a right path, and I'm thankful that you invited me and talked to you. Just, there's something, some thoughts, I just put it before the house. Thank you very much.
Sir, for your kind information that Chamber of Commerce is also going to be a premium member of World Economic Forum very soon. And all researches coming from the World Economic Forum can be distributed to all our members. Even that participative notes, or that in some of the events that we can participate of the World Economic Forum, we are going to do that point.
One thing I tell you, today, the numbers at WEF, they are waning, they are falling down. Earlier, just like COP right now, it's an in thing. People go, heads of states. Now, today, in today's meeting at the WEF in Davos, there are few heads of states. So those numbers are falling down. So, but that's, fine, that's okay. But the research they generate, knowledge they generate, immense.
Thank you so much, sir. So now we would like to invite another scholar, Dinesh Jain. So I am pleased to introduce Dinesh. Dinesh has been working as CFO partner with CFO Bridge, focusing on virtual CFO across the country and global clients. He is qualified ACA, ACS, CMA, forensic auditor, ACMA London, CGMA London, ACG London, and he started his career with number of companies. He started with Atul, then he worked with Colgate Palmolive, he worked with Johnson and Johnson, he worked with the company private equity, and he was been in one of the leading businesses named Meru Cabs. He was seconded to lead as group CFO and as a board member. Worked both the fund and invite companies into a turnaround situation which involve end-to-end restructuring business models, systems, processes, and reorganizing the team out there. After working with True North for 5 years, he took next assignment with Merrill Life Sciences, that is Bilakia Group Company, Indian MNC, as a group CFO. Working with them for 5 years, he is a versatile speaker, traveler, and he is a charter member of TIE and on the MSME and Startup Committee of WRIC of ICAI. So, Dineshi, we request you to enlighten us for role of finance in making our ecosystem better for the businesses.
इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज बराबर છે ને એનીથિંગ કઈ આગતું હોય તો કઈ
તો મારી પાસે બોલવું પડશે
No, I agree.
इंग्लिश ओके હોય તો વાંધો નહીં.
No, I'll operate English mix of Hindi and English. थोड़ा हिंदी ज़्यादा यूज़ करूँगा, English बीच बीच में
because उनको थिंक करना है इंग्लिश में
Of course.
और एक्ट करना है
of course. So thank you Sanjay bhai, thank you Ramesh bhai, thank you Hemant bhai, thank you sir Himanshu bhai, and thank you all my co-panelists for for inviting me to be part of this forum, and it's indeed an honor to be talking on this kind of eminent people in front of me. मैं आज अपनी जो बात रखना चाहता हूँ, मेरा इस टाइम के ऊपर हम लोग काफ़ी सारी टर्न अराउंड सिचुएशंस के ऊपर काम कर रहे हैं और काफ़ी सारी पास्ट में अपना जो अनुभव है टर्न अराउंड करने का कंपनीज़ को, मैं उन एक्सपीरियंसेस को यहाँ रखना चाहता हूँ एंड वो कंपनियाँ क्या क्या कर रही हैं. मेरा ऐसा मानना है कि अगर सूरत जैसी सिटी के अंदर अगर तीन कंपनी लाइक ओला या फ्लिपकार्ट या इस तरह की कंपनियाँ आ जाए तो वो इस पूरी सिटी को ट्रांसफॉर्म करने का मतलब उसमें इतना वेट है कि वो पूरी सिटी को ट्रांसफॉर्म कर सकती है, राइट. सो आई वांट टू टॉक कि ये सारी कंपनियां कर क्या रही हैं, लाइक इन सारी कंपनियों में हो क्या रहा है एंड व्हाट इज़ इट, जहाँ पे अपने एमएसएमई या मीडियम स्केल कंपनीज जो हैं वो कहाँ अटके हुए हैं एंड व्हाट इट टेक्स टू बी देयर, बिकॉज आई एम पार्ट ऑफ सर्टेन सक्सेस स्टोरीज एंड विच इज़ व्हाट आई वांट टू शेयर इट हियर. मैं अपनी बात को सबसे पहले शुरू करना चाहता हूँ प्रोडक्ट कैटेगरी से. जो प्रोडक्ट नाम की जो एक चीज़ है, इसका शायद अगर अपन 1 दिन या 5 दिन भी बात करें तो कम पड़ेगा मेरे हिसाब से, बट मैं एक दो कुछ एग्जांपल्स डिसरप्शन के रखना चाहता हूँ. जिस कंपनी से मैं बिलोंग करता हूँ, मेरी लाइफ वापी के अंदर है. ये कंपनी पूरे वर्ल्ड में हार्ट वाल नाम की एक चीज़ होती है जो कि 15 लाख रुपए का एक हार्ट वाल होता है. इस पूरे बिजनेस को वो हार्ट वाल की प्राइस को 15 लाख से 7 लाख रुपए के लेवल पे लेके आता है और इंडियन सारी एमएनसीज को डिसरप्ट कर डालता है. सो टुडे दे हैव 75% मार्केट शेयर इन द कंट्री फ्रॉम 0 to 75%, एंड नाउ दे आर चैलेंजिंग द ग्लोब, ऑल ओवर द ग्लोब, राइट. सो इट इज़ ऑल अबाउट डिसरप्शन इन द सेंस कि उसको कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव and the quality of product has to be better is something what people are doing. Number one. Number two is the orientation, अभी I was talking to somebody in ITC. ITC took about 1 year to introduce बेसन, उनको बेसन अभी उन्होंने इंट्रोड्यूस किया है. तो हम में से बहुत सारे लोग सोचेंगे बेसन को इंट्रोड्यूस करने के लिए एक साल की सोच क्या ज़रूरत है उसके पीछे. अब जब अगर अपन बेसन की बात करते हैं तो उनका ये मानना है कि वो बेसन में जब उसके पकौड़े बनते हैं तो वो कितना कड़क होना चाहिए, या वो सदर्न पार्ट में या नॉर्दर्न पार्ट में लाइक किया जाएगा नहीं जाएगा, इसके ऊपर पिछले 1 साल से रिसर्च चल रही है. नाउ दे आर कमिंग अप विद द बेसन. तो इस तरह की जो ग्लोबल कंपनीज़ हैं या लोकल कंपनीज़ हैं जो नेशनल या इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे अपने प्रोडक्ट्स को उतार रही है, उसमें वो इस लेवल की रिसर्च कर रहे हैं जिससे वो नेशनल और इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे जा कर के सफल हो रहे हैं. तो दैट इज़ अबाउट प्रोडक्ट नंबर 1. नंबर 2, ये प्रोडक्ट की पाइपलाइन कितनी स्ट्रांग है, बिकॉज इसमें से बहुत सारे ऐसे प्रोडक्ट्स हैं कि आपको 4 साल 5 साल 8 साल डेवलप करने में लगते हैं उन चीज़ों को. तो इज़ द मीडियम स्केल कम्युनिटी इज़ पुटिंग एनफ effort to build that particular pipeline, or we are mostly focusing on me too products. किसी का बाजार में चल रहा है, are we working on commodity side of the story, or we are working on me too kind of a products. I think जो सक्सेस स्टोरीज मैं देख पा रहा हूँ उसमें ज़्यादातर कंपनियाँ जो है अपने कुछ यूनिक प्रोडक्ट्स पे फोकस कर रही है, एंड विच इज़ वेयर दे आर ब्रेकिंग द होल बैरियर ऑफ द वर्ल्ड, राइट. तो दैट्स सेकेंड बिट ऑफ व्हेन आई एम गिविंग द एग्जांपल ऑफ मेरिल के अंदर अगर वो उस तरह का प्रोडक्ट बनाती है जहाँ पे वो एमएनसीज को टक्कर दे पाती है, या इस तरह का प्रोडक्ट जो पूरे वर्ल्ड लेवल पे सक्सेस होता है और आधी कॉस्ट में, दैट इज़ व्हेन दे आर ब्रेकिंग द होल काइंड ऑफ थिंग. एंड ये अपने से ज़्यादा कुछ दूर नहीं हो रहा है, करीब 100 किलोमीटर दूर हो रहा है. दूसरी तरफ मैं कुछ क्लाइंट्स के साथ काम कर रहा हूँ जहाँ पे अहमदाबाद में कुछ लोग पॉल्यूशन कंट्रोल के चीज़ों पे काम कर रहे हैं जहाँ पे वो पूरे वर्ल्ड को डिसरप्ट कर रहे हैं. And they have developed a particular system and processes through which they are now almost, they are having about 40 to 45% market share in the India, and probably 20 to 22% in the global scale. It's where the young students of 35 years old, they are transforming the thing. That's one point I want to talk about. I would like to then add this story with the business model. आजकल बिजनेस मॉडल में बहुत बड़ा एक ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन हो रहा है कंपनीज के अंदर. आप अपने प्रोडक्ट्स को कैसे कस्टमर तक पहुंचाते हो. फॉर एग्जांपल ऑफ लेट आपने एक इंश्योरेंस कंपनी को देखा होगा जो सिर्फ सर्विस के ऊपर अपना फोकस दे रही है. ऑफ लेट मोटर इंश्योरेंस के ऊपर एक सर्विस के ऊपर अपना फोकस दे रही है. तो इट इज़ समथिंग यूनिक हैपनिंग इन बिजनेस मॉडल, एंड बिजनेस मॉडल्स आर बिकमिंग ए वेरी वेरी क्रिटिकल फैक्टर जहाँ पे लोग अपनी इन चीज़ों को चैलेंज कर रहे हैं, एंड दे आर बिकमिंग एक्स्ट्रा ऑर्डिनरीली सक्सेसफुल, एंड देर आर स्टोरीज वेयर कंपनीज हैव ट्रांसफॉर्म इनटू बिजनेस मॉडल. तीसरी बात जो मैं रखना चाहता हूँ इसमें कि आपका जो डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सिस्टम है, कंपनी जिस डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सिस्टम के माध्यम से कंपनी अपने प्रोडक्ट्स को कस्टमर तक पहुँचा रही है, इसमें से हम लोग मीडियम स्केल की कंपनियां कितनी ऐसी कंपनियां हैं जो आईटीसी या यूनिलीवर या उस तरह की कंपनियों के बारे में, उनका जो डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सिस्टम है उसके बारे में कितने लोग सोच रहे हैं, उसके बारे में उनका जो नेशनल या इंटरनेशनल सेटअप है उस प्रोडक्ट को डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करने के लिए, उसमें से कितने लोग उस डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सिस्टम के ऊपर काम कर रहे हैं. एंड दिस इज बिकमिंग सुपर क्रिटिकल टुडे to drive what value these companies are driving, right? If Merrill has to launch from country of India to 110 countries around the world, they need a distribution. क्योंकि डॉक्टर को रात को 12 बजे प्रोडक्ट लगता है, तो if your distributor are not there into that particular part of the world and he is not standing with you on that particular surgery, then you guys are not able to succeed. तो इसमें से I think distribution system जो है दैट्स गोइंग टू बिकम ए वेरी वेरी क्रिटिकल रोल. अब इसमें से कुछ कंपनियां डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सिस्टम को चैलेंज कर रही है. आई विल गिव फ्यू एग्जांपल्स. ओला ऑफ लेट हैज गॉन डायरेक्टली इनटू डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ द स्कूटर, while all Bajaj and TVS of the world, they have their distributors all over, but Ola went on that path that they want to distribute their products directly to the consumer, right? So they are disrupting. I don't know whether they will be, may not be, but they are disrupting this. अगर अपन मारुति का एग्जांपल देखेंगे तो मारुति ने अपनी डिस्ट्रीब्यूटरशिप में, अपनी डीलरशिप में पास में एक नेक्सा नाम का एक डिस्ट्रीब्यूटरशिप और खड़ा किया, एंड इट इज़ अ वेल लेड आउट स्टोरी that their sales went up by 30 to 35% due to this particular thing which they rolled it out, right? So are we in the businesses at the mid-size businesses, RV guys are thinking into that pattern that we need the transformation into distribution structure, or are we thinking about disrupting this particular distribution part? चौथी बात जो मैं रखना चाहता हूँ, जहाँ पे मैं वीकनेस देखता हूँ मिड साइज की कंपनीज में, जहाँ पे टैलेंट जो पाइपलाइन है कंपनी में वो जनरली वीक है. दे डोंट हैव द गुड क्वालिटी रिसोर्सेज which can help them beat them their competition and all. They are not building that competition, that talent cycle, right? तो मेरा ऐसा मानना है कि कंपनियों को किसी भी टैलेंट को अपनी कंपनी के अंदर लेने के लिए उसको 3 से 4 साल का टाइम देना पड़ेगा ताकि वो ग्रो करे, एंड अल्टीमेटली दे आर रेडी फॉर द दैट नेक्स्ट रोल टू बी टेकन. मेरा ऐसा मानना है कि इस पूरे एरिया के अंदर, इस पूरे सेक्टर के अंदर वीकनेस है जहाँ पे बहुत सारा काम करने की ज़रूरत है. इसमें मैं एक एग्जांपल देना चाहता हूँ कि बहुत सारी फार्मा में जो कंपनीज हैं उसमें इफ़ द रेम्यूनरेशन इज़ 100, देन द इंसेंटिव स्ट्रक्चर इज़ ऑलमोस्ट 200. सो इफ़ द गाय गेट्स 100 रुपीज़ इन द सैलरी, देन ही गेट्स 200 रुपीज़ in the incentive. How many of us, and how many industries are working on that kind of transformation, that they are having this kind of structure, and so that they are driving that particular behavior, and and ultimately getting that kind of growth, right? So कहीं ना कहीं इस स्ट्रक्चर पे काम करने की ज़रूरत है. अगर हमें लोकल से ग्लोबल जाना है तो ये सारी चीज़ों के ऊपर हमारे को सिस्टमेटिकली काम करना ही पड़ेगा. अदरवाइज, एंड दीज आर वन ब्रिक बाय ब्रिक इनटू द होल स्टोरी. If we are not building these bricks, and which I am seeing in quite a lot of companies where I am working, and people are getting into this shape, and the success stories are getting formed, I think मेरा ऐसा मानना है कि ये बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है कि इन चीज़ों पे काम किया जाए. अगर ये सारी चीज़ें ठीक से हो रही है कंपनी में, आई विल कम टू योर पॉइंट ऑन फाइनेंशियल साइड. अगर ये सारी चीज़ें ठीक से हो रही है, एंड फाइनेंशियल साइड पे कंपनी के अंदर एनालिटिक्स आर इन प्लेस, their cash flows are done, their whole MIS, everything, corporate governance structure is all right, then anybody is ready to fund those companies. There is no dearth of fund for those companies, and actually fund is chasing them. Actually इस तरह की कंपनियों के पीछे फंड चेस कर रहा है, and there is no dearth of fund for this kind of companies. मेरा ऐसा मानना है कि आप अपने अंदर वो सारे प्रोसेसेस, प्रोडक्ट पाइपलाइन, सप्लाई चेन, डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन, अपना फाइनेंशियल जो एनालिटिक्स, पूरा गवर्नेंस जो है कंपनी का, उस पर ठीक से काम करिए. आई थिंक देर इज़ नो डर्थ ऑफ फंडिंग. चाहे वो MSME का IPO हो गया, अपना द SME वाला IPO हो गया, या अपना फंडिंग प्राइवेट इक्विटी से हो गई. आई डोंट थिंक देर इज़ ए डर्थ ऑफ फंड्स. बट मैं टेबल की जब दूसरी तरफ मैं बैठता हूँ और जब मैं कंपनीज को इवैल्यूएट करता हूँ फाइनेंस साइड से, विच इज़ वेयर दे आर फाउंड टू बी वर्किंग ऑन दिस पर्टिकुलर थिंग, एंड विच इज़ वेयर दे नीड टू कम अप to this stage, and I think there is enough fund which is chasing them. This is where I will put forth my part.
Before few days we visited Merrill.
Oh, okay.
They are from my village.
Acha.
We are family members like that.
Okay.
And we would like to call him here
Oh yes.
to share their views with our young entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
And you can help us.
Oh
to
yes.
make it possible.
Sure.
Fine. Next in line, we have a scholar, Dr. Anil Saraki, our own SGCCI Managing Committee member, and I am very much pleased to introduce him. He is having academics with a PhD, MBA, BE, LLB, advocate. He is having a FDP from Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. He is registered patent agent and having a 20 years of wide experience. His affiliations are many, that he is honorary secretary for SGCCI Global Golden Jubilee Memorial Trust. He is a past president, South Gujarat Productivity Council, past honorary secretary SGCCI, managing committee member of Sarvajanik Education Society Surat, is a member of governing board SR Luthra Institute of Management, member of Quality Council of India New Delhi, and IPR expert for SSIP Executive Committee SCAD. His research, 4 publications in national and international journals, 14 paper presentations in national and international conferences. So Dr. Anil Saraugi will guide us about how Surat Economic Forum can be a brand that can be recognized locally and nationally.
Thank you, Sanjay Bhai. Coming straight to the brass tacks for paucity of time. After Hiren Bhai, Kamlesh Bhai and Dinesh ji, it is indeed a very difficult task, but I'll make an attempt. What I'll do is that I'll set up the context in which I want to make a couple of suggestions for Surat Economic Forum. As rightly pointed out by almost everybody, that GDP numbers per se are not the ultimate goals, and it is the happiness and the livability of the place that we should consider. But if we have to go by some objective numbers, we have to track the GDP numbers also. So we being in 2024, almost entire country is now targeting for 2047, and we say that we are in Amrit Kal and Atmanirbhar Bharat and Viksit Bharat, etc. And for Viksit Bharat, we are saying that 2025 would be our first milestone of achieving $5 trillion economy. But even if we are $5 trillion economy, where do we expect us to be by 2047? Today, if we see, are these linear growths taking us anywhere being developed by any standard if we compare by some of the countries? Like, as the President in his opening remarks said that our PPP GDP per capita GDP is approximately $2,600, and if we go by nominal GDP, it would be much less. Against that, if we do not consider the countries which are rent-seeking countries and which are having some historical benefits and which are small countries like Monaco, etc., if we go by larger countries which have developed over the last 100 years out of their economic activities, the comparable country would be USA. Even if we say that USA is too aspirational, but still for a country of 150 crore, USA becomes an aspirational benchmark. And what is the per capita GDP of per capita income or GDP of US citizen? Is approximately $70,000, $75,000 if whatever benchmark we take at $5,000 here and there. Is it possible that going by the way we have gone over the last 30, 40, 50 years, that we reach this aspirational per capita GDP at all? I have my own doubts. That's why I will be suggesting some strategies that how we can really grow, how we can really be a developed country in the true sense of being livable and happy country also. So GDP that I have talked about, now it is an Herculean task to, if at all we target for $70,000 per capita income, it is indeed a very, very Herculean task. But this is where the role of organizations like Surat Economic Forum comes into picture, whereby we can somehow identify the drivers of growth which can really take us and catapult into the next trajectory by taking it through some sort of discrete growth. What we have seen over the last 30 years is a great achievement of 7 to 10% of growth, but we would require some discrete drivers, which I'll talk in a little time from now. We are certainly talking of the entire theme of today's program is think global, act local. What it means is that we have to draw inspirations and we have to study the models of international success stories and customize them for our local implementation. On those lines, having said that, I personally believe that we are in a very, very interesting cusp of time whereby the situation is reasonably favorable to us, because everybody says that what USA did post World War II between 1950 to 2000, somebody says 1940 to 2000, but over the last 50 years of the 20th century has been phenomenal, and every country tries to replicate it. But today it is much more easier compared to what they did without technology. In 1940s, 50s and 60s, technology was not available to them. But still, since they were a new country, they were able to do it. But in our case, there are some legacy issues that we will discuss right now, but we are in a favorable situation because we can leverage our growth of the country, economic growth of the country through technology, because that is where the discrete growth can come from. However, from the favorable point of view, there is technology in favor of us. The demographics are certainly in favor of us. That has been talked a lot. English-speaking population. Some people say that English is not the most widely spoken language, etc. But still, English is the currency of the world as far as the language is concerned. So that is extremely in our favor. Whatever we talk about our education system, but I am extremely proud of our education system. We are all products of our education system, and it is recognized the world over. Our number of engineers that we churn out is phenomenal. It is the thought leaders and the organizations like this that we provide opportunities to them to show their talent. But there are challenges also. With the favorable conditions and with the challenges, then we will talk about strategies. The challenges is that main challenge is that if we compare our workforce compared to other countries like Japan and Europe, even compared to Chinese workforce, our productivity is not at all something to be proud of. So this is what is a challenging part of it. To some extent, due to historic reasons, there are challenges of work ethics also. All of us are part and parcel of this whole game that is going on, but we need to somehow look into this work ethics part also, which can really become lag on our growth aspirations. As Dinesh ji very rightly pointed out, there are governance issues also. While we are proud of we being MSMEs, family-run organizations, singly-handed organizations also, but if we at all we want to grow, we have to get into corporate structure and legally formed entities which can really grow. So corporate governance and professional approach is somehow a challenge that I see. Having said that, a couple of suggestions that I want to make is that when we are talking on the forum of organizations like Surat Economic Forum, it is not only the economic entities like companies and firms that we concentrate upon as far as their growth is concerned. It is the holistic view that we have to take. Not only the GDP growth, but out of that GDP, whatever is the result of after 50 years, would that situation be a livable situation? Would that be a happy situation? For that, I have spoken on this platform n number of times, we must focus on infrastructure. What I mean by infrastructure is that USA has grown over this historic period of 1950 to 2000 by focusing on infrastructure. They have built huge infrastructure during 1950s, 60s and 70s, and this infrastructure is giving them dividends today. However, we have certain problems of infrastructure which we need to cater to. Let's say we are 75 lakhs of people today, and somebody said that we will be surpassing Bombay by becoming, let's say, I don't know what figures we are talking of, let's say 1 crore people or 2 crore people. But the railway station that we had in 1950, President Saab, is the same railway station. Is this railway station capable of supporting this type of traffic. Sir, you can Google today. From Ahmedabad Kalupur railway station, Ahmedabad is 8.5 kilometers. When Hemant Bhai's phone came, I was leaving Kalupur railway station towards Ahmedabad. Not prime time, 2 p.m. 2 p.m. Just for the sake of trying BRTS, people say that BRTS is faster than private communication. I took BRTS. Believe me, sir, it took me, and it is not abnormal. I have been to Ahmedabad. I am from Ahmedabad. Kalupur railway station to 4.5 kilometers, it took that BRTS 1 hour. And then across the river, 8-10 minutes. The point is that India, while being proud of our older cities are choking. They are literally choking. In Surat also, if we go 4 to 5 kilometers away from railway station, the life becomes reasonably comfortable. We can have newer airports whereby, they will be far away and they will not be choking. But these railway stations are very difficult to manage, and it is, my proposal is that whenever there is a new state, we have a Gandhinagar, then we have a Naya Raipur, then we have an Amravati. It is high, and then we, for some reason, we have Navi Mumbai also. Navi Mumbai was a reason because Mumbai was anyways choking. It is high time that under Surat Economic Forum, we advocate the concept of satellite cities, which anyways is gaining some momentum, but new cities, whereby it is this new city that gives the mobility, freedom, and the so-called happiness and the livable cities. More importantly, although I am not a student of economics, but I have had a subject of economics and I remember that word very vividly. There are benefits of externalities. When you do one activity, it snowballs into generation of lakhs and lakhs of people of employment and lot of other revenue generation also. So when we set up a new, like what is Kevadia colony? Kevadia colony is in a way a concept of developing an economy of that particular region. So if we come up with new cities and whereby we have an iconic legal entity, like let's say what he was talking of, sort of, what is Sanand? Sanand is a sort of a new entity, new city, new industrial township developed because Tata came there. So if let's say for example, Flipkart was to be attracted here, and we tell them that not Surat, Ahmedabad or Baroda, but Bardoli. That would be a great idea to develop that particular area, which is workable from Surat also. So I am of the, on this line only, I had talked at least a couple of number of times that it is at the planning stage of the city. It is at the town planner level that we have to design our new TPs such that those those areas are livable cities. None of the TPs I have seen that where you have a concept of city center. Wherever you go, I have not gone to many countries, but wherever you go, Hong Kong, Macau, Shanghai, you have a concept of city center whereby the life literally thrives and throbs and it is vibrant place. In good old times, British developed a place called Connaught Place. That is the place whereby the entire city converges. Why can't we propose a concept of having a city center around which a new TP is developed? Thereby, in a way, that becomes a vibrant place and that becomes a place of activities, of cultural activities also, economic activities also. So on infrastructure side, we have talked a lot about health and education. But for city infrastructure, we need to have a think tank and we must work on those lines. So that is what I had talked about, hardware part of it. We need, everybody is saying that Surat is proud of its own entrepreneurial skill set. But we need to provide them the way we are coming up with PM Mitra Park. We need to come up with extremely focused areas which would be thriving at least for that particular segment. Then there are some systemic challenges also. What I mean by systemic and inefficiencies or challenges is that, I mean, we need to speak it out. If we don't speak out, who will speak out? Somehow, Indian government and the think tank of India has been studying the economic models of other countries and trying to implement that. But the unethical practices part of it, which somehow has ingrained into our DNA, we need to work out some models, study some models, and the government has to take this on a war footing. Unless and until the unethical practices are not controlled and contained, the leakage would be so huge that we can never be an efficient economy. If we go for any Scandinavian country, their work ethics are par excellence. If you go to everybody talks about Japanese work standards and their ethics, etc. But governments here do not try to study their models and try to come out with some role. At least some communication should be made by the leaders who are in control, so that people would try to follow up. So, however, the successes of the past, we keep on studying the role models of various other countries, but they succeeded in certain situations. Like China succeeded on arbitrage of labor. So to say, we also did a lot of arbitrage of labor. And what is IT outsourcing? IT outsourcing was absolutely nothing but arbitrage. પરંતુ જે લોકો આર્બિટ્રાજનું ગુજરાતી નથી આવડતું, બટ જે લોકોને આર્બિટ્રાજનો કન્સેપ્ટ ખબર છે, they would vouch with me that over a period of time that arbitrage difference vanishes. And that is what to some extent China is also facing and India is also facing. That arbitrage of labor is vanishing. Just because Indian labor is cheaper, that doesn't mean that it is less costly to those countries, because their productivity is more. But another challenge is that even if China or India has some arbitrage on labor, the concept of labor itself is vanishing. On the shop floors, you don't need labor itself. Robotics and automation has invaded our shop floors to such an extent that the benefit of arbitrage of labor is vanishing. And when we go for automation and machines जब लगाते हैं, तो machines की cost तो in fact यूरोपियन कंट्रीज में अपने से कम है, कारण कि हम तो वहाँ से लाके वो रोबोट्स यहाँ पे लगाते हैं. So if we were to operate our machines on automation basis, we would not have any arbitrage of any resources, especially the labor. So where do we go? It is very difficult to grow the discrete way that I am talking about if we go by the old ways of doing things, that setting up the factories and trying to derive some efficiencies by improving making some improvements here and there. What is the way out? My first and most important recommendation to Surat Economic Forum is that we must go whole hog on developing this whole mindset of innovation. Unless and until our economic drivers, and I would say almost every stakeholder, including government and chambers of commerce and commercial entities, understand that unless and until we do some amount of innovation, there are various ways of innovation. You don't need to develop a new product to qualify it as an innovation. There are n number of ways to identify an unsolved problem from the uplink of the World Economic Forum or just the market scan, that you can really innovate something, and then that is where there is less competition and some amount of reasonable wealth creation which can satisfy our entrepreneurs also. Because unless and until entrepreneur is fully satisfied with the rewards that he is getting, he would not be interested in pursuing his goals further. So a lot of things we can do, and I can wind up within less than 1 minute. I was also given to talk about what we can do to brand our own Surat Economic Forum. I have spent some time in branding. I personally believe that we should have some visual entity for our Surat Economic Forum. There will be a lot of visual entities around Chamber of Commerce. But if at all we have Surat Economic Forum, there should be some visual entity, and we should have a aspirational cause, and we should communicate this aspirational cause consistently with our various stakeholders, so that we are seen as standing by these causes which can create our brand. Thank you very much.
And another friend of mine, scholar, Dr. Parag Sanghani. I'm pleased to introduce Dr. Parag Sanghani. He is an Endeavour Fellow from QUT, Australia, and has a global exposure of education systems in Europe, Australia and UK. He has worked with a leading university in UAE as the head academics. He has in the past handled $250 million PPP model projects in the education and infrastructure sectors. He has trained several executives in different parts of the world for several years, and he has taught subjects like innovation and creativity, information system, and operation management to students globally. He has published more than 20 research papers and articles in journals of great repute. He has worked with agencies like NAAC, India and QS, Singapore to enhance the quality of higher education. Here we have Dr. Parag Sanghani, and we request him to navigate us for role of education in making our ecosystem better for businesses. Thank you.
I think I will learn from my, sorry, bear with my voice, learn from my corporate friends, because we academicians generally overshoot the time. I think both of them has exactly cut. So I will try to, first global to local is that academic should be corporate oriented. So I will finish in 10 minutes. What I would like to say, there is no better investment nation can make than education. So unless all these things is not possible if we concentrate on education, because that's the investment, not an expenditure. Generally, when he analyzed budget, they said this is the expenses for education government has done, but I will say it's the investment on that. So I will not. So he, Vewari Sahib has done my half the job. Silicon Valley, he gave the example, and if I ask in this forum, what is the contribution of Silicon Valley? It's a tremendous contributions. More, if you say US and the new age technologies is all because of Silicon Valley. If I ask this gathering whether we want to make it Surat as a Silicon Valley, right? We make this forum to make the Surat economy vibrant, or we talk about that it is to make it all are agreeing, right? We want to make it a vibrant economy. Someone says the GDP, where the $2,600 to, because if you see Silicon Valley's contribution is almost $130,000 per capita income that the Silicon Valley is generating, which is more than Finland's per capita. So if we wanted to do that, we all want to do that, right? But my question to this is that if we want to make this Surat city, Surat to Silicon Valley, the question is how we can do that. And everyone wants to Silicon Valley, but no one is talking about the contribution of Stanford to creating a Silicon Valley. And that's where my whole presentation's task is that what has been done by the Stanford. Almost 5,000 company startups, which is a roots to the Stanford. Whatever today Silicon Valley, we are only seeing outputs and trying to say it's because of government. I will say it's the institution like Stanford who has made the Silicon Valley. I think I agree. Yeah, so that's where whole focus of Surat Economic Forum is to build this capability within this city so that we can do that. And if we will not focus, and that's where my question is, can we, the one example, sorry, how to go back? Yeah, so, sorry. Yeah. So we all want to make a Stanford, but we don't have such a resource. We are not resource-rich country like US. We are having a resource constraint. So we have examples like if you see Ahmedabad, if you see the institution which Ahmedabad has, how they co-created the institution. Because IIM was there, NID has been created, there are IIT. So lot of things are there which Surat needs to focus on. And if we will not focus on all this is all we are talking about the global things, but our base is not making. And I'm very, very thankful to Professor Yagnik. He has rightly said, where is the research? He says that the Merrill has to do, or ITC has to. How many companies of Surat is doing and investing on research? How many companies are working with the local institutions to give them, okay, I give you 50,000 rupees. Our faculties are not asking 5 lakhs, 50 lakhs what the IIMs and IIT faculties are asking. We can do that. And if you see, the Chandrayaan is the best example where India has to learn. IIT and IIM is creating a people for the US and the developed worlds. But the Chandrayaan is made for the ISRO, made by all the institutions within Bangalore and Chennai region. Majority of people are coming not from the IITs. Only 2% of the scientists of ISRO are from IITs. So Surat Economic Forum has to create that platform. That's what I wanted to make a point. Because we are not collaborating each other. We academicians, when I came from Dubai, I tried that let's work together, all the universities. Because when I was in Australia, I see that one and QUT is competing with the QU. But when it's a research funding or industry linkage is both working together. For students, you compete. Because all the competence, I don't have expertise with the other university has, with the other race. Can Surat Economic Forum can do that? And that's where I will say that research part is not a businessman's deal, not the SGCI job. It's a job of academic institution. Let them do it. Let them trust it. Let them believe in themselves. Let them give exposure. SCGI can help, industry association can help, because I cannot afford a 20 lakh Davos or premium membership of a Davos. But can SCGI or a Surat Economic Forum is a medium where my faculty wants to do that data? Can that be possible? I have a research base. Can the academic institution can share that data? So whole point of mine is that economic development without investment, education and skill will not sustain. And immigration, yes, that's true. We need that talent, but that talent Surat need to nurture. Surat need to retain. And that's where happiness, wellness, so that's again a social part of that. But we have to work on local institution, local talent, what kind of research has been published by this institution. And Surat Economic Forum is to genuinely connect with the good institutions of Surat. Build their capacity to work for the industries. We have a lot of textile. How many textile marketing courses are there? How many diamond marketing courses are there? I was recently discussing with the doctors. They says we need a medical counselor. How many institutions? Because we don't know that you need that kind of people. We are producing common BComs, common chartered accountants, which are unemployable. Again, that is a burden on Surat economy. So if we can help in identifying, and Surat Economic Forum is to guide academic institution, that these are the future skills which Surat needs. Can you prepare for that? Can you do for that? And we can jointly work on that. Some skills my university has, which with the other university, which is VNSU has, which is Sarvajanik has, which can be over. I'm saying, if we want to genuinely develop, we cannot create one Stanford, but 10 institutions together can create that. And Surat Economic Forum can be that platform where we connect each other, we can do that, we can have a dialogue. If one speaker comes, one day I will host, one time he hosts, one day other university, students get exposure. They will be able to understand new age skills. Tell me, we all are talking about how many of our children studying in Surat institutions. If you want to develop that, all the top business of Surat, all are proudly saying, my son has gone to US, my son has gone to this. Can't we create this? And then we talk about Surat economy to making it the Silicon Valley. So that's where the base skill set, because we don't know, Diamond Bush came. What is the skill requirement? How many education institutions is preparing for that? For businessmen, that's fine. How it will contribute to the economy unless Surat workers' child cannot get employment there? Surat, a diamond jewelry park came. How many people are we are bringing from Bangla, other states, these states, but local students, local people who are already immigrated. Can we add that skill? So that's where I hope we will deliberate on that, build that capacity, research, skill and education, where Surat Economic Forum can set a guideline that these are the 20, you have all association. Ask them what kind of people you say, make a report, circulate to all institutions, those who want to do, they will do. But then you help them to employ, then we have to believe on that. So that is the only point I wanted to make it in this forum, that making Silicon Valley, you need a Stanford. And for that, Surat Economic Forum has to work together. We all have to deliberate on this and build on this. I think I've taken 10 minutes. Thank you.
Excellent. PP Savani will be a Stanford for Surat.
No, we all together. Then I am here as a Surat citizen, and I want that we have to work
So
together.
extending your thought, probably that what he is saying, that probably we would have invited Chandrabhai Virani before 2 days to
Yeah.
Surat, or maybe a Kiran Bedi would have been with us today. Kiran Bedi is there in Surat today. Anyway, so we have a open forum, and we have any question from any corner. Do we have? I think we are also to time constraint, but looking to that, yeah, please.
Sir, सबसे पहले thank you very much to the evening people. It was wonderful hearing you. And thank you, Ramesh sir. I had a chance of encountering you and talking to you on WhatsApp, and you have been very humble, very approachable, and thank you. So I'm a new member of SECCI, and I used to assist Shri Dilip Oman, who was the CEO of, who is currently the CEO of AMNS. I was assisting him in the automation in the economic advisory basis. And sir, I'm also not an economist. So the question to you people is, how can young people like me, or people who have just started their own entrepreneurial journey, okay, can contribute to your initiative, and what are the processes through which we can connect?
So I welcome first of all your initiative to hear us. And I am thankful to you for raising this, your wishes to join with this, and I will contribute you. So Mission 84 is the project entirely, and under that SEF, Surat Economic Fund working. So you can place your proposal in the group of Surat Economic Forum, and thereby we would like to invite many of the youth really who are the carriers of the economy of Surat to the global level. So whatever the time you can spare, whatever the thoughts you can spare, in whatever sense you can contribute to this Surat Economic Forum, you can be here, and we welcome you anyhow you can. What resources you have, I mean you can.
We'll take it further.
Sure.
Thank
Right.
One.
Yeah.
So I request Amanbhai Desai, Chairman, Surat Economic Forum, to propose what I
We had a feast for our mind. Last 2 hours, everybody of us listened very carefully. And that is because the subject, Surat Economic Forum. This is a very, very relevant subject, very, very relevant topic. And we really appreciate contribution of these 5 gentlemen who have given lot of suggestions, very good suggestions, very useful suggestions. I have noted down all of them, and we will see to it how best we can implement and carry it forward. We are in a very much evolving stage, so we need lot of inputs from people like all these experts. We are grateful to Hiren Bhai Vepari, Kamlesh Bhai Yadnik, Dinesh Bhai Jain, Dr. Anmi Sarogi, Dr. Paraj Bhai Sanghani for bringing various aspects of Surat Economic Forum at the center stage. Everybody has given real good inputs that we can study, understand, and try to make it. Of course, it's a very big task. We have just started. It will take time to nurture all these thoughts, crystallize all these thoughts, put them in proper baskets, and put up the required machinery to carry it forward. But it was the real good things. Our journey has started. We'll launch Surat Economic Forum very shortly, and then we'll organize a lot of activities for sure. And we are thankful to all the participants also who have come and attended this program. Thank you very much.
At the end, we would like to say that the next program of Surat Economic Forum is scheduled on 9th of February, where editor Ajay Umat is going to talk about economy equations, and that is there. And last, I would like to sum up with that सूरत इकोनॉमिक फोरम के अंदर सिर्फ हंगामा खड़ा करना हमारा मकसद नहीं, पूरी कोशिश है कि ये सूरत बदलनी चाहिए. मेरे सीने में ना सही तो तेरे सीने में हो कहीं भी आग, लेकिन आग जलनी चाहिए. लेट्स कंटिन्यू द
બધા સ્પીકર્સ અને મિત્રોને વિનંતી છે કે આપના સંપર્કમાં જે લોકો ઇકોનોમી સાથે સંકળાયેલા હોય, ઇન્ટરેસ્ટેડ હોય, ઇકોનોમિસ્ટ હોય કે એના સ્ટુડન્ટ હોય, તો એ આને સુરત ઇકોનોમિક સાથે ફોરમ સાથે કનેક્ટ કરાવવા વિનંતી છે. જે લોકો ઇન્ટરેસ્ટેડ જે છે સાંભળવા માટે, નોલેજ ગેઇનિંગ માટે, એ લોકોના કનેક્ટ પણ આપજો, જેથી કરીને નેક્સ્ટ ઓડિયન્સ ટુ બી ધ બેટર. થેન્ક યુ વેરી મચ.